After last week's winter weather, a lot of UNI students are curious to know what actually goes into predicting the weather.
Well, modern weather forecasting is largely based on using computer simulations of the atmosphere. And to do that, you have to have a good set of observations to start with. We have to have a physical understanding of how things like temperature and winds and pressure will change over time. And then we have to have mathematical techniques that can work with the observations and our understanding and project things into the future. And actually there's problems with all three of those. We never have perfect observations. We make observations here and there throughout the atmosphere, but we don't actually observe the whole thing. We can't do that. We don't have a perfect understanding of how everything works, and we don't have perfect mathematical techniques for projecting things out into the future. And so the storm that we saw a week ago, I think, was a very good example of when those things go wrong, that you can end up with a forecast that is really not very good. And that does happen from time to time. So there's still progress to be made. It's been a more active winter, I think, than we have seen for a while. So it's been a very interesting, fascinating forecast pattern.
I'm a freshman. This is my first UNI winter, and it has been cold and windy.
It's just typical Iowa weather. I mean, I grew up here, so I'm pretty used to it. You have to be prepared. You have to be proactive, watch the weather, know what it's going to be like that day, and just be prepared for change.
Well, the snow came out of nowhere, and it's too late in the year for snow to be happening, like, in my opinion.
March can actually be a very active month for snowstorm. It has been a little bit difficult to forecast. The storm that we had last week was not especially well forecast, but it just reminds us that we don't understand everything about putting together a forecast. The accuracy of forecasting now out to about 5 days is what it probably was out to only 3 days, maybe 10 years ago. So we certainly are making big improvements. The theoretical limit to predictability is about 2 weeks. But we have actually seen a couple of storms in the last 6 months where the longer forecasts actually worked very well.
I also asked how snow accumulations were predicted.
We have techniques that work pretty good for estimating rainfall amounts, but you can also use that to estimate some snowfall amounts. Typically it's about 10 inches of snow for every 1 inch of liquid that you receive.
What's the most popular method of obtaining weather information among students?
I have an iPhone, so I just use my weather app on my iPhone. I have a Weather Channel app, which I assume that's pretty accurate.
I would check the weather app on my phone for, to check when the snow is going to be here, and I would always check my email to see if professors would cancel class.
I think for a locality, a place like a television station is probably one of the best ways to get your weather information, because they know the area very well and they know the impacts that the weather will have. Nationwide, I guess I probably lean more towards the National Weather Service, because the forecasters around the country communicate with each other. They all are following sort of the same general procedures, and so there's some consistency there to the forecast that you may not see from some other sources of weather information.
And with the sun out and temperatures hovering around freezing, UNI students are enjoying what seems to be warm weather. Is spring finally here?
The forecast right now out through about spring break week is that we probably will stay on the cool side of normal, and it does look to continue to be kind of a wet pattern, so that's probably good. We need the moisture. I think we're all ready for a little bit warmer temperatures, and we'll have those from time to time, but it looks generally cool out for the next 2 weeks or so.
For UNI TV, this is Isaac Campbell.